Are you thinking about buying a place in Philly but stuck between whether to buy a row home or a condo? I have helped hundreds of buyers make this exact decision, and today we're going to break it all down, the pros, the cons, the hidden costs that you won't really hear about unless you know someone local in Philadelphia who sells this type of real estate. So my name is Marco Gabriel. I've been selling real estate here in Philadelphia since 2017. I've helped hundreds of buyers to relocate to the city or upgrade their homes in the city. And from Rittenhouse condos to South Philly row homes with character, I have pretty much seen it all. So this video is going to help you make the right move for your lifestyle as well as your investment goals. So number one thing that I want to discuss when it comes to condos versus townhomes is just generally the lifestyle fit. These two types of real estate are generally going to give you a little bit of a different feel in your everyday life. So row homes, what are the benefits here? You get the entire home to yourself. It's a fee simple property that you own outright. So you don't have to deal with the condo associations. You don't have to deal with other owners, and you are pretty much autonomously able to make the decisions for your home that you see fit without having to go and engage with any outside association other than the local government. So obviously, if you're going to do renovations to a row home, you still have to go get your permits from the city, but you don't necessarily have to go through any hoops when you're doing those types of things that you would be in a condo. In a condo association, you may be dealing with people who have different opinions on things that are happening within the condos. You may be limited on what you can do on the exterior of the home. That's also in an HOA that you're going to deal with that. So those are some of the things that you want to consider. Also, generally with a row home, you're going to have more ability to have the outdoor patio, the outdoor space. So that is something that sometimes you're going to forego with the condo, because condos are more set up like apartment units a lot of times. And while they may have a balcony or they may have an outdoor space, that is a little bit more few and far between than what you're going to see with the row homes that typically do have at least a back patio, maybe a front porch. The third factor with lifestyle fit that I think is very important with condos versus row homes is the fact that most row homes in the city are going to have some level of storage in the form of a basement, which if you have a lot of things or if you're downsizing from a bigger home, you may want to go to that smaller space. But if you go to a condo, you may not have all of the storage space that you're going to have in a typical Philly row home. Now, going over to condos and that type of lifestyle, what are the pros there? So you're going to have some benefits in the form of you may have some amenities in the condo building, right? If it's a boutique, smaller condo building, that may not be the case. There may be just some certain common areas, in the building and no amenities. But in these bigger condo buildings, there usually is going to be some level of amenities. You might have a gym, you may get parking, what have you. There may be a concierge at the front desk. So depending on what you're looking for, that may be better for your lifestyle. If you want to be higher up, you want to have views, it's just a different type of setting than your row home where you walk out your front door and you're on the street. The condo building is really much more like living in an apartment building, but still having ownership in that unit. So I think both have their pros and cons on your lifestyle fit, and it really just depends on what your goals are and what you want that everyday life to look like. The number two thing that you want to factor in when you're going row homes versus condos is just the monthly cost. So obviously with condos and HOAs, there is going to be some level of a monthly fee or a quarterly fee or a yearly fee associated with living in that building or in that community. And the reason is, with these buildings, there are common elements that are shared between all of the owners. In the case of an HOA, you may have common elements like common drive aisles that are shared by all the owners, or maybe a common dog park or something along those lines. These are things that basically all the owners pay monthly or quarterly or yearly so that they can pool their money in and pay for those things, or to just basically cover reserves so that if there's ever a case where something needs to be replaced that's a common element, there's money in the bank account for that. So with condos, you do want to take that into account. However, sometimes the condo fee can be offset by the insurance, because with a condo, a lot of times you're only insuring the inside of the unit, and you may not have to insure the exterior, depending on the association, depending on the situation. That could be a place where you're going to offset costs. Now, condos additionally sometimes may be a little bit of a lower price point. They may also have lower taxes depending on what the city is valuing those condos at. So it's something that you do have to look at versus townhomes, which are obviously, that's a full property. You also are paying, your full taxes on the land and the improvement there. On a condo building, pretty much everyone is kind of splitting the value of the land there. So it can impact the monthly cost. But generally, you're going to look at probably a higher monthly cost in the setting of just having those condo fees for a condo versus what you would have with a row home. Now, this goes into my next point, which is maintenance and repairs. And this is something that directly factors into that monthly cost. So depending on the condo building, there may be some maintenance and repairs that are covered by the association. Again, especially on the exterior of the buildings, the exterior of some of these units, some of those things may be covered by the association versus a row home. You are essentially taking that entire home on to only your own onus and yourself to maintain it and repair it. There's not going to be really any amenities or anything that a community or HOA is covering on your behalf. So if you're looking at the two, that's something to balance into the financial equation. Because if you're looking at, let's say, a condo building where you're really only worried about the interior of the unit, you get an inspection done, everything's updated, there's a little bit of a level of comfort there, knowing that you're not going to have some of these major expenses. Versus a row home, it could need a new roof, it could need a new sewer line, there could be issues with the siding, and those are typically the higher ticket repair items that can really create a high level of financial distress at some points when you have a home and you're not expecting some of those things to happen. Windows even, some condo buildings, that would be on the building, versus in a row home, if you need to replace the windows, that's on you. So that is something you want to take into account and really keep an eye on, because if you're comparing a condo where a lot's covered versus a row home that maybe needs some maintenance and updating, that can quickly change the picture of the financial situation, and you want to factor that in to the evaluation there. Number 4 is the resale value and appreciation. So typically condos in Philly appreciate slower than an average single family home in Philly. So this is a case-by-case scenario, but that is just generally what you're going to find, is that condos are not going to appreciate as quickly as the resale townhomes and things along those lines. Now, this is not always the case. You may buy a condo in a boutique building in a prime location, and those in those boutique buildings are much more comparable to having like a single family townhome, just because it's not a huge HOA. But in these large buildings, the reason why sometimes these condos don't appreciate as much is because there are a lot of external factors that impact the value of the condo, such as the reserves of the association, the rules of the association, and things along those lines. What I generally find is that, condo buyers are a specific type of buyer. They want certain amenities, they want a certain level of comfort, and they want a little bit of the benefits of renting with also the benefits of owning their own property and being able to do what they want with the inside. While buyers of row homes are really much more like, they don't need really anything from anyone. They just want their own space. It's a little bit of a different lifestyle, but you do want to take into account resale values and appreciation, and a good real estate agent can help guide you and help you analyze those different things by showing you how much condos have appreciated in certain areas versus how much townhomes have appreciated in those same areas when you're comparing the two. So the final thing to keep in mind when you're comparing condos and townhomes in Philadelphia is the financing. So some condos can be really tricky to finance. especially when they're non-warrantable buildings. So I've talked about this before, but warrantability is a very interesting topic that a lot of people aren't really well versed on, but essentially certain buildings can't qualify for traditional financing methods. And so if you're working with a buyer or you're a buyer that's working with a lender, you want to make sure that the buildings that you're looking in are warrantable buildings that can be financed. If you go to a building that is not warrantable, you may either have to buy the unit in cash, or there may be a specific 2 or 3 local lenders typically that are willing to lend on that building because they're familiar with it, but it's not going to go through a conventional process or like an FHA process that is what you're going to typically find with most row homes. Now, row homes are usually a lot easier to finance. Lenders are very familiar with financing row homes, typically, especially in Philadelphia. A lot of the row homes and areas are all very, very similar. So there's typically no issues with financing row homes unless there's some huge issue that comes up with the home itself during the appraisal, like, they find some major issue with the home and they're not willing to lend on it because of something specific about that home. But you're not going to find any warrantability issues with a row home. Condos also have recently had higher interest rates than row homes, and that's another thing to keep in mind when you are, factoring your financial analysis. So those are some of the factors to keep in mind when you're deciding if you want to go the condo route or the traditional townhome route. If you're still torn between a condo and a row home, let's definitely talk through it. You could shoot me a message or drop a comment below, and I will definitely help you break it down. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I have plenty more content coming for you soon, from new construction to abatements to neighborhood tours. We got it all coming for you. I'll see you next time.